Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good
Hi.
afternoon. We're still setting up on YouTube. Maybe we'll. Okay. Yay, we're live on YouTube and here. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. It's currently 1:02 p.m. in Minnesota. We just had lunch, so I am very sleepy and tired today. So if I'm a little low energy, that's why.
We can
Where are
have a
you
low
guys
energy
what?
party.
Yeah. What was that?
Low energy party.
It really is a low energy party. The weather's really nice here though, for sure. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Um, for those that are just that have joined us here, if you want to let us know where you're watching from, that would be awesome. I don't think the chat is open, but the Q&A tab is. So you can just leave it in the Q&A box and just let us know where you're joining us from, uh, and how you're doing today. I am very tired. How are you doing, Violet?
Sleepy, but good. Yeah.
Yeah. For those,
Jay,
I'm seeing a lot of, sorry, what was that?
I was just gonna say, what are you drinking there?
I'm drinking French press that Violet made for me because I needed it. Violet's my lifesaver. Thank you so
Coffee
much.
helps.
Coffee does help. I'm like slowly kind of waking up now. I drink a lot of coffee. Ethiopia is present.
Yay.
Yay! We have so many Ethiopian students here. It's such a big community. I think you'll have a really great time coming here. We're so excited to welcome you. But yeah, Ethiopia is one of our largest, if not our largest population. So
And
it's
an
always a good time.
incredible coffee producer as well.
Uh-huh. One of our student workers in our office is Ethiopian. Uh, Nathaniel. We love having him in the office. He's one of the best students
So smart.
ever.
So
So
nice.
smart. Nana is from Ghana. Doing good. That's good. I'm glad you're doing good. Anikin, hello again from Nigeria. And okay,
Hello.
today we're just going to be talking about tuition and fees. So if you were in a session last time, it's going to be very similar formatting. Next week is housing, so you're definitely going to want to be there for the housing one if you have more questions, because I know housing can be a little tricky. But wait, before I even start, I didn't even introduce myself. Hello,
Who are
everybody.
you?
My name is PJ Gurung. I'm the Assistant Director for Strategic Communications and Recruitment here at the Carney International Center. I work more on like creating communication. So if you guys get emails and stuff, we're usually kind of working on the back end. Violet has her own role, so I'll have Violet kind of explain what her role is. But a lot of our social media stuff I handle. So if you haven't followed us on social media already, please do. We post a lot of fun content, and it's also a great place for you to kind of get familiar with campus life here. What else do I do? I do quite a bit of here and there. Anyway, Violet?
Hi everyone. I'm Violet Kind. I am the International Enrollment Coordinator, and my role really revolves around helping new students get enrolled and kind of get through the initial process of getting here. So I know a lot of your names already because we have chatted through email and you've been at some of the webinars. So welcome. It's nice to see you. And we're really excited to meet you this fall. So yeah.
Thank you for that, Violet. We have a couple students from Kenya, Jones, Mishak, an anonymous attendee who's from Cameroon, and another Ghanaian student, Jude. Thank you. You guys are very engaged. I love that.
Yay.
Okay. With that, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. As always, please leave all questions in the Q&A tab and we will get to it at the end of the session. Blah, blah, blah. At least we're getting closer to Friday. I'm very excited about the weekend because I plan to do nothing.
Yay. What is everyone else doing this weekend? Let us know.
What are you doing this weekend, Violet?
Um, we're getting a new bed, so that's exciting. Big
Oh my God.
delivery.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited for that. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah. So that's my excitement.
That's the epitome of adulthood. It's like getting a nice bed, you
Right.
know?
You spend a lot of time in a bed, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. Somebody just said they're from Nepal, and somebody also
Hi.
said their weekend plans are existing. Yeah,
You
that's a
see, you
really
get it. You get
yep.
it. Felissa. My eyesight's so bad I had to like go all the way. Felissa, yeah. Yeah, same. From Nepal. Hello. Namaste. Welcome in. Okay. Can you see my screen okay? Okay, this is a building in the photo that you'll be spending a lot of time in. So this is our Centennial Student Union. This is where we have our like food courts. This is where students like to study and hang out during lunch break. So you'll see this place a lot, or you'll be here a lot in the
And it's where
fall.
we are. Come say hi.
Yes, yes. Our office is right here. Definitely come get familiar with where our office is because you're going to be coming into our office quite a bit, even as a student. So okay, agendas for today. We are going to be understanding and learning about how to plan your budget, how to make payments, health insurance, what that cost looks like, scholarships and assistantships if you're a graduate student watching, and then working on campus and employment. We're going to get started right off with how to plan your budget. This is going to be very important, especially for a lot of you guys who may or may not have experience budgeting. I obviously didn't, like, I personally didn't know anything about budgeting when I was 17, 18. I wasn't really good at it. So we kind of want to talk about what you need to be conscious about in terms of, like, okay, these are fees that I need to pay here, and then fees that are not included. So if you look at your I-20, if you have already received your I-20, you will see on there that you'll see an estimated cost of attendance. So that's going to include costs for your tuition and fees, living expenses if you're living in the dorms, like health insurance, books and supplies, and personal expenses. That's what's going to show up on your I-20. However, remember that that estimated cost of tuition does not include all the things here on the right hand side. So your CVIS I-901 fee, which you will have to, pay for your visa fees, is exactly about 185 right now. And travel expenses. So airfare, shuttles, hotels, and any other expenses that are included with traveling, those are not going to be included in that I-20. So we'll kind of break it down further as we go move along. All right. So if you go on our website at this time and look up international, like MNSU international tuition cost, you will come to this little section right here. Just remember that all of our new undergraduate international students automatically receive a scholarship that's called the International Maverick Scholarship, which is what you see on the screen right now. This is automatically applied to your tuition, so you don't have to do anything other than show up and pay for them. So that's the fun part. You get to keep this International Maverick Scholarship until you graduate as long as you maintain your J1 F1 status, and two, you continue to have at least like a minimum GPA score that we've mentioned, because we want you to succeed academically, and hopefully this is a good motivator for that. So you'll look, if you go all the way down, it'll tell you an estimated expense for 9 months. Again, when we say estimated, it's not like this is how much you'll spend. You don't know how much you'll spend for personal expenses, right? We put that down there just so you have an idea of how much money your sponsor will need to send you or how much money you need to kind of start, figuring out. Some of the expenses on the screen are, of course, like fixed though. So if you're looking at the international student orientation fee, that's $200. It's not going to go up. It's not going to go down. That's how much we're going to charge you. Health insurance as well. If I miss anything, please feel free to chime in, Violet. And then graduate tuition and costs. For the graduate tuition looks a little bit different, so I will share that with you guys later. I don't think this is the correct one because our graduate students do not get the Maverick Scholarship. How to make payments? How does billing work? Um, Violet, do you want to reshare that link to everyone instead of just hosts and panelists? I appreciate that.
Yeah, for some reason it won't in the drop down. It only shows hosts and panelists and PJ.
Oh,
So,
here. I'm gonna change that. Okay, you should be able to do it now.
okay,
Thank you so
thank you.
much. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. If you were having a hard time seeing the table and you want to, here is the link where you can do that.
And then also, could you also share the graduate one?
Yes,
Thank you. You're the
no
best.
problem.
All right. So, how to make payments? Um, I've gotten a few questions from students where students ask if they have to make the whole year's payment at once. That is not how it works. Um, in universities in the US, you're billed per semester. So when you come for the fall, you're only going to get charged for the fall semester. You have to make health insurance payment before you're allowed to register for classes. And the good thing about this, though, is we'll help you get that paid off. During orientation week, we'll have peer mentors. So once you check in, those peer mentors will take you to where you need to make those payments for your health insurance. Do keep in mind that you have to pay your health insurance during orientation week before you're able to register for classes. If you don't pay it, you cannot register for classes, which we don't want that to happen. So as you're making travel plans and travel arrangements, just know that you need to have those funds with you beforehand before you get here. Orientation fee is $200, like I mentioned before, which will be put onto your account the week after orientation. So if you don't see it during the week of orientation, don't panic. A lot of times your bills, your tuition will start showing up on your e-services after you've registered for classes. So don't panic if you don't see it. How to make payments. There are a few options available for you. The first option is direct bank transfer. What we recommend is using Flywire because it gives you A, the best exchange rates, and B, there's a flat $25 fee. So whether your sponsor is sending you $500 or $5,000, that flat fee, that transfer fee is going to be $25, which makes it really easy, especially if your family or sponsors are sending larger amounts of money. Um, so definitely look into Flywire. If you also look up MNSU Flywire, it'll bring you to our website, our official website, that will give you a step-by-step on how to do that, and if there are any other steps that I'm missing right now. The other option online with your credit card, of course, this would be a pretty easy process if you have your credit card on hand already, so you could do that. Or you can pay it in person when you're here during orientation week or whenever you get here. You can just go to the cashier's office on campus, and it's also in the same building that we showed you earlier for the picture. It's in the same building, the cashier's office, so it's relatively easy to find. You can pay with cash, you can pay with credit card, debit card, or if you even have Apple Pay, you can use Apple Pay. So whatever is easiest for you. We do get questions from students sometimes, though, about if they can just enroll in monthly payment plans. Sometimes we understand that you're not able to pay the payment right away. So this is an option that is available to you. However, again, there's some steps that you need to follow. There's a $34 enrollment fee per semester for enrolling in this monthly payment plan. Payments have to be made the 5th day of each month, so you cannot miss on that deadline. And also, in order to even enroll in the payment plan, you need to start early because the longer you wait, there's a deadline on when you can sign up for the payment plan, as well as what I'm trying to say. So if this is the option that most suits you at this time, I would look into enrolling for it as soon as you get here, or as soon as you get here. And I can share that link in the chat for you as well. Circling back to scholarships, if you recall earlier, as I was talking about tuition, I mentioned that all of our new students automatically get a scholarship. That's called the International Maverick Scholarship. You do not have to do anything except maintain your F1 status and maintain a 2.5 term GPA or a 3.0 cumulative GPA. Again, these are very attainable as long as you're going to classes, as long as you're submitting assignments on time. That should be a very attainable goal for you. The International Maverick Scholarship is valued at $7,280, so it's a very, very good deal. Doesn't sound right, but you guys get what I mean. You can also continue to apply for scholarships as an enrolled student. So after you're here in the fall, the next year, so 2026, February, our scholarships are going to open. Like February is known as scholarship month at our university because the entire month you'll have access to a lot of scholarships. I think this year, our scholarships were about $7 million in total funds that we had. Not seven, $3 million. So there are a lot of scholarships, and these scholarships can range from employment-based, leadership-based, volunteer-based, and then department-based as well. So there's just so many scholarships this month, and you will know that it's scholarship month because everyone's going to be talking about it. There's going to be people tabling at the CSU where we are, again, our offices, and you'll start seeing posters around, and overall, people are going to be talking about it. So February next year, you can apply for more scholarships. Alrighty. Housing, yay. For those people watching, have you guys already decided on whether you're living on campus or off campus? Have you guys signed a lease already? Please let us know. We would love to know if you've already started planning your housing already. I'd also love to know if any of you guys already have your visa, so that we can congratulate you, and then we'll also know that you're going to be here very soon. So, housing. There's two options when it comes to housing. You can either choose to live on campus or you can choose to live off campus. We do not require students to live on campus their first year. I know some universities do that, but we don't do that. You decide what you want to do. We do find that students that live on campus tend to perform a little bit better academically, but this could also just be because they have an easier access to classrooms, like, just accessibility wise, you don't have to like get on the bus and travel. However, again, this is not a requirement. Ultimately, it's up to you and what your budget is and what your family, you probably want to discuss with them as well. But these are some average monthly costs for 12 months. If you choose to live on campus, there we go. This is so much better. Housing comparison. This is what I wanted to show you guys. So as you can see, whether you choose to live on campus or off campus, the monthly average cost comes out to be about kind of the same. I know like $200 is still a big difference for us, especially when you're like converting it to US dollars. But this includes the on-campus one includes, again, room and meal plans. It does not include summer. So during summer break, you do have to move out. So just keep that in mind as you're coming in and do your research. An average monthly cost off campus is about $1,100 for 12 months. This includes your rent, utilities, food, renter's insurance, and I'll talk more about what things to look out for as you're looking for off-campus housing. That's another benefit to living on campus too, is because you don't have to like think about like, okay, I have electricity bill, I have gas, I have water to pay for. Everything is one bill, so it does make things a little bit easier, but ultimately, again, it's up to you. On-campus housing requires a 1 to 2 semester contract and a $240 deposit if you choose to live. And on-campus housing is also pretty competitive. It's first come, first serve. So if you're pretty late, I think now is already almost too late to kind of get your top choice housing dorm room. So act fast. If you have your visa already, act fast. You'll be living with either you can live with by yourself or up to 4 roommates. And again, this also depends on your budget and how much you're willing to spend. There's 4 meal plan options. You are required to get a meal plan if you're living on campus. All of the dorms on each floor, there is a little kitchen that you can utilize. There's a fridge, there's stoves, some pots and pans, but it's not really a space where you can actually like fully cook because again, that's a community space, so you have to be pretty mindful. And so you will be required to get the meal plan. But if you ever feel like, just having a little cooking with some of your friends, just like getting something done in the kitchen, that space is available though. Some other benefits, of course, you're living on campus, you have very, very short walk to classes and other events. Almost all of our buildings on campus, if you guys didn't know, it does snow in Minnesota, um, which I'm hoping you guys already knew. Um, but almost all of our buildings on campus are connected, so you're not necessarily having to walk through the winter, like in the snow between classes, which I think is really nice. Off campus, again, we did put down the average cost at 1100, but it really depends on what kind of housing you're getting. Are you gonna like live by yourself? Are you gonna live with two roommates? There's a lot of options in terms of off-campus housing as well. It usually requires a 12-month lease and security deposit. We'll talk more about that. Again, you can choose to live alone or with roommates. Meal plans are optional, of course, if you live off campus. However, if you're someone that's living off campus but you hate cooking, you can still buy the meal plan. So you're not excluded from that if you choose to. Um, there is a free bus service available on campus. When you're here, you'll get to see our bus. It's very distinct and you know it's the bus for the university. All you have to do to get in is, where's my math card? I do not have my math card with me. I'll find it. Okay, this is the math card that you'd be taking. So this is your student ID, and this is what you'll be taking on the bus. So when you get on the bus, you show this to the bus driver. You don't have to pay to utilize the bus. And then the bus takes you to like grocery stores, the mall, a lot of off-campus housing places. You'll see a lot of bus shelters, and the bus comes and pick you up. Another thing I really like about the bus service too is you can track it online. So you can track exactly where the bus is, what time it's going to get to your place. So you can like, kind of track the bus, and then once it's getting closer to your place, you can put on your shoes and then finally head out. The biggest difference, again, like I said, is everything is included in one bill if you're living on campus. If you're living off campus, you're responsible for paying the rent and monthly utilities monthly on time. So you have to make sure you have your reminders set. It's usually the first day of the month that's due. If you're late, they will charge you a late fee. And if you do not pay, there's probably going to be a lot of like problems. So you have to be very responsible if you're going to live off campus. You're going to have to be responsible regardless because you're leaving your family and friends and everything behind to come here. But especially when it comes to payments and stuff, you have to be very careful. Renting 101. I said a whole lot of like lease, security deposit, blah, 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 in this little segment here, but I kind of want to explain what these are so that you kind of have a better understanding of what the terminology means, because you're going to have to kind of get used to using these words. So earlier when I said, oh, when you live off campus, it has to be a 12-month lease. What is a lease? A lease is a contract where one person, so the landlord, is allowing you, the renter, to use their property for a specific period of time in exchange for payment. So you're paying them rent monthly. Leases are generally 12 months long, and leases do not always include utilities. Right now, in the apartment that I live in, I pay my rent, which includes water and trash and sewer. What sewage. What's the right word, Violet? Sewer. Not that this matters. This does not matter. This does not.
I think either one's good.
Either one's good. Yeah, this does not matter. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is my lease, so the amount that I pay monthly, it does not include electric, it does not include gas, and it also doesn't include Wi-Fi. So those are additional things that I have to sign up for and pay for each month. So what are utilities? Utilities are just basic services like sewer, water, electric, gas. I know in some countries, like most countries, you're just paying one bulk amount for the place that you're staying at. Like back home in my home country, I would only pay for my parents. I didn't pay, but my mom would only pay for the rent, and then we had to pay electricity extra. That was it. So it's kind of the same concept. you must sign up for utilities separately and you will be billed separately as well. So it's not going to be in the same portal as where you would be paying your rent. And most apartments will not include all utilities. It's really hard to find apartments that do include all utilities. I know in Highland there's a studio apartment that includes all utilities and everything in one bill, but generally in all the places that I've lived at, I usually have to pay additional for utilities. The most important thing for you guys to understand though is a lease is a legally binding contract and you cannot just leave the apartment midway through the lease. You can't sign the document, the contract, send it back, and then you come here and you're like, I actually hate it here. I'm just gonna leave. You can't do that. It's legally binding, so you have to make sure you're reading the lease carefully and completely before signing. Your lease is going to be pretty long. I think mine's like 7 or 8 pages long or even longer. But when I signed it, I made sure to read everything because the lease will include a lot of relevant information like can you own pets? What kind of pets can you own? How big of the pets can they be? Noise violations, what time is quiet downtime hours? Those things are also going to be included there. What about parking? If you plan to get a car when you're here, you have to like double check on parking. And then in the lease will also say if you need to get renter's insurance. Renter's insurance is an additional thing that you'd have to sign up for as well. So make sure you read your lease throughout, like thoroughly. And if there are some questions that you see or like, and then you can always let them know before you sign it. Because once the lease is signed, you cannot back out. So be careful about that. I feel like I'm scaring you guys right now, but I'm only doing it so you guys are more careful. But don't be scared. It's honestly actually not that scary. I'm just kind of making it sound scary, I think. But we also want you to be responsible. So, okay. Student health insurance. Now we're kind of going to pivot from renting. If you have any questions, leave them in the Q&A tab again, like I said before. But we're going to pivot a little bit to student health insurance and important things you need to know. F1 and J1 international students are required to purchase student health insurance in the US. United Healthcare is the Minnesota state insurance provider. And so when you're here during orientation week, we will, after you've checked in with us, we will take you, it could be us or it could be one of our peer mentors who will take you to the cashier's office to pay your student health insurance. And once that's paid, we'll remove any holds on your account so that you can register for classes. Estimated cost of insurance for 12 months is $26.40 and must be paid annually. I think another thing I need to point out is it's not a one-time cost. You will pay for it for fall when you're here in August, and then next year in July and mid-July, you'll be expected to pay for the following year, and so on and so forth. We have some graduate students here, I know. So if you're a graduate student, like I mentioned before, unfortunately, you do not qualify for the International Maverick Scholarship. That only applies to our undergraduate student. However, for graduate students, you do have the option of applying for graduate assistantships or teaching assistantships. Now is a good time to start applying for them because it's like summertime and then they start hiring for fall. So please continue to monitor our vacancies website so that you can apply for any that show up if it applies to you. But for graduate and teaching assistantships, you get up to 9 credits of tuition waiver per semester, up to $10,000 of stipend per academic year. That's $5,000 each semester. And then depending on whether it's part-time or full-time, you could be working 10 to 20 hours. The credit and tuition waiver also depend on whether your graduate assistantship is full-time or part-time, because if it's part-time, it could not fully cover the 9 credits per semester. Always make sure you read the job description or the opening description, just like fully see how many credits is covered, how much the stipend is, because again, it could vary a little bit depending on what type of assistantship it is for. You can only apply for assistantships after admissions. So if you haven't been admitted yet, please do not apply. Students with a GA will still need to show funding though, so please keep in mind. Funding for graduate students is also a little bit different because it depends on your department. So if you have questions about that, please reach out to us. Please email us and we'll get you that accurate information, or you can reach out to your department. On-campus employment. This is a question that I think we get a lot about, like finding jobs on campus. We completely understand that you would want to, get employment on campus, but there are some rules that you need to follow and remember. For undergraduate students, you can work up to 20 hours per semester, per week during the semester. In the summertime, when it's like holiday or during winter break, you can work up to 40 hours per week, which is really nice because you can work full time. For graduate students, you can work up to 14 hours per week year-round unless you're working as a GA or a TA. And you can apply for jobs after enrollment at MSU through Handshake. This is something we do want to point out to you guys as you're gearing for your travel arrangements and things like that. We do ask that, well, it's required that students bring records of immunizations if you have these. So if you've gotten your Tdap, which is your tetanus or diphtheria, or your MMR, if you've gotten either of these, please make sure you bring records of it with you when you come here. If you already have it with you, you can just email your records to Student Health Services. So their email is listed right on the screen for you, which is healthservices@mnsu.edu. If you do not have any immunization records to bring, that's completely fine. You will be asked to take the vaccinations after orientation week. And finally, fall 2025 orientation attendance is mandatory. You can't miss it. You do have to check in during this week because this is also the week you'll register for your classes. Orientation dates for fall 2025 are Monday, August 18th through Friday, August 22nd. So you must arrive on or before August 17th, 2025 so that you can attend on Monday. If you already have your visa and you're looking at travel arrangements and getting your tickets, please know that you cannot enter the US before July 19th of 2025. So you can only enter the US 30 days prior to your program start date. So just be very mindful of that. And make sure you book your tickets on this day or after. These are some photos of our peer mentors. They're usually wearing yellow shirts like these ones that you see on the screen. And they are our current international students on campus, and they are such great resources for you. They'll help you get acclimated to being on campus. And so if you see them around during orientation week and you have questions, please ask them. They have a wealth of knowledge, and orientation week can be very overwhelming and stressful. So just know that these students are here to help you through that process. And also a full-time staff, you'll see all of us at orientation week. Right now, you guys have only met me, Violet, and JJ if you were in our previous webinars, but you'll get to see the whole team. You'll also get to see who your immigration advisors will be for the next 4 years. So we're all very excited and we have a lot planned and in store for you. I know our last webinar is August 7th of 2025. If you've already registered for it, amazing, but that's the day we're going to be doing the orientation overview. And then, like I said before, next week, June 4th at 10 a.m. CST Central Time, we are going to be having our housing webinar, which I don't think is here. Okay, it is here. So June 4th, we're going to be doing a housing webinar. And then the June 12th, there's 2 time slots, so whichever one fits best for you. Please join us for placement testing. If you've already started getting information on that and you have questions, that's a great time because someone from the placement testing department is going to be there. We don't really particularly do any placement testing work ourselves. And so if you have questions, I usually do not really have a clear answer. So please join that. And then we also go live on Instagram. If you guys didn't know this already, me, Violet, and JJ, we do go live on Instagram weekly, and we just kind of have a good time. We usually come with some information for you guys, but more often than not, it is more of a space for us to have a conversation with you guys that's more informal. Because during webinars, it's really like we can't see your faces. You can't really ask us questions as frequently, but when we do Instagram lives, it's very informal. So we answer all the questions that we get. So where else can you find us? You can find us on social media. So our Instagram, YouTube, and our TikTok. We're more active on Instagram and YouTube as of right now. And, this is a way for you to see what our current students are up to, their involvements, fun videos, behind the scenes, weekly events. We post a lot of students. Recently, our students went on a biking adventure. So we posted some photos from that because during summer we do host quite a few events for our students as well for those that are still in town. So please follow us and DM us if you have questions. I do try to check our DMs daily, so if you have any questions, I try my best to answer. If it's a very complicated question, I'll tell you to email us instead. But if it's like a pretty easy question, I'll answer that. Okay, we have some questions. How do I apply for student employment? And then, is it difficult to find on-campus employment due to number of students? Do you want to take it or do you want me to take it, Violet?
You can go ahead. I'll see if I can add anything to what you have.
Okay. Um, so with employment, I mean, applying for a job anywhere is competitive, so it's really hard for me to tell you exactly how difficult it is. However, I do want to point out that a lot of departments of our campus really does prioritize hiring. We do tend to hire international students, but because international students cannot work off campus. So that's something I need you guys to know. You can't just work off campus, or you can't also don't work for cash. Like, don't do any of that. Um, if you don't get a job your first semester, a lot of times students do tend to get a job by the second semester. So important to know that start early. If you want to know how to apply for student employment, we use a website called the Handshake. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can maybe show that to you guys. Um, Handshake. I don't know that you'd be able to sign in right now because you're not here yet, you haven't checked in, but the website is called Handshake. I'm going to leave the little link in the chat for you so that you can kind of
Yeah,
take a look at it.
I think maybe a reasonable expectation would be to once you get here and you get registered for classes, you go through orientation, all that kind of stuff, then you'll be able to get into Handshake and you can start looking for jobs. And maybe you don't start the first semester that you're here, maybe you start the second semester you're here, which also would give you a little bit of time to kind of adjust to college life and having all this homework and classes and everything going on. But yeah.
Exactly. Um, Someone said they don't have their visa yet. You got this. We believe in you. Just go in there confident and just know your answers. Are on-campus rooms still available for those who have not yet applied, or are they full? That's a really good question. Honestly, I cannot answer that for you because, again, we do not really oversee any of the residential applications. However, if you have questions, I will put the residential housing email in the chat for you. They're pretty responsive, so I think reaching out to them is not a bad idea. Okay, their email is in the chat now. If I get to MNSU 1 or 2 weeks before 18th of August, can I live in the dorms already or will I have to pay? That is a wonderful question. Let me get my sheet of paper. Okay, early arrival. So you have to submit an early arrival request in the housing and dining portal starting July 28th. So you still have a little bit of time. However, you do, again, like I said, have to apply for the early arrival request and you have to get accepted or approved before you're allowed to move in early. Um, and that is if you're arriving between August 9th to the 17th. You will be billed $29 per day for arrival prior to Monday 18th. So if you come here like a week or two, just keep that in mind that that's going to be an additional cost. Again, the most important thing though is you have to submit an early arrival request form and then get approved. But yes, that is possible. Okay. I don't know if we have any questions on YouTube, but I'm gonna go and take a look right now. All right.
We do not.
Amazing.
We did just get another couple of questions here, though.
How much would you estimate the total monthly cost of living by yourself as you are at the same position? I live with roommates. I don't live by myself. Um, but again, honestly, that really, really depends on what apartment you're getting, and where you're getting. Apartments that are closer to campus can be a little more pricier because they are closer to campus, but they also have a lot of deals going on. If you decide to live by yourself, um, the last time I checked, one bedroom apartments can be about like $700 plus, not including utilities. I'm actually going to share a really good resource with you, Belissa, so you can kind of take a look at what we have available. MNSU housing, off-campus housing. We will also like go over it together next week, but this is not a good idea. I mean, this is not a bad idea, not a good idea. Let me share my screen and show you what I'm doing. Okay, all right. So this is our off-campus housing portal, so to speak. Um, that's actually me with the red hair when I was still a student years ago. Um, but yes, you will see current listings right here. So you can go ahead and do this. This platform is so cool in my opinion because you get everything in one spot and it just makes life so much easier versus having to like do back and forth. But again, as you can see, these are units that are very close to campus, which is amazing. Um, but then when you click on these, it'll also kind of like tell you what kind of how many bedrooms they have. Let's look at Highland. Um, So their one bedroom, one bath is going for $800. There's 700. So there's the range. It kind of depends on where you're living and what kind of apartment and what kind of facilities you want as well. If you want like a laundry, washer and dryer in the apartment, those usually are a little bit more expensive. But this is a great tool. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. Hopefully this kind of helps as well as you're looking for off-campus housing.
We
And
got another
then
question from an anonymous attendee saying, "Hi team, I have already received my I-20. However, I have set aside some personal funds and would want it to be captured on my I-20 in addition to the current sponsor funds. Is this possible? Because I got an email saying no major update can be made." Yeah, we do not change the I-20s once they have been processed and created. And that's because we have a lot of international students here, and we get a lot of requests for changes and creations of I-20s. And so once the I-20 is made, it is as it is, and I mean, it should be everything that you need for your visa appointment. So just use the one that you have.
I would like to ask for clarification regarding the miscellaneous expenses listed for on-campus students. Are these expenses mandatory and included in the tuition and fees, or are they simply estimates provided to help students plan their budget? Those are estimates. And we usually include things like personal expenses. If you want to go out with your friends, you're going to go out for dinner and things like that. We try to give you an estimate, and it's just to help plan your budget, like you said.
And those links that we put in earlier about the budgets, there's one for undergraduates and graduate students that has the breakdown of what the miscellaneous expenses are. So you can check that.
Thank you, Violet.
Mhm.
Okay. If you guys don't have any further questions, I think we might be ending a little bit early today. Um, I need a nap. I'm just kidding. We still have work. It's only 2. Um, but if you guys don't have any further questions, we're probably going to end a little bit early today. And again, as always, please email us. I'm going to put our email in the chat actually for you guys. Edu. Any questions with the application process or something, please let us know. Ooh, there's a question.
Hello. So I was admitted for a certain program, but I was informed that it's no longer a program, but I've already scheduled my interview. Can it interfere with my visa appointment? So I know that we were just talking about that we don't change I-20s once they've been given out. But yeah, we did do a academic portfolio review recently, and we did end up suspending certain programs. Those students have been notified, so don't worry if you're just hearing this for the first time and you're like, what? There's a good chance it does not affect you. It only affected a very small amount of students. But if you already have your I-20 and the program has changed and you want us to update your I-20, we will do that. You can email me international@mnsu.edu. Let me know which program you would like to switch it to, and do that sooner than later. If your visa appointment is in, the next 48 to 72 hours, let us know. Otherwise, still just do it as soon as possible so that we can help you with that.
All right. In terms of finding employment, we kind of already talked about it a little bit. Again, it really depends on how quickly you apply to these jobs, and so you just kind of need to make sure you're, sorry, this question. International students are only allowed to work outside campus? No, international students are only allowed to work on campus. Unless you're doing an internship, then that's a whole different story. We can talk more about it once you're here on campus, because I don't want to complicate this and confuse people even more than you guys need to be. So as an international student, you're only allowed to work on campus. Um, and that's about 20 hours a week during the semester. And then during summer break, summer breaks, it's about up to 40 hours per week. And then during the semester, it's 20 hours per week. All right. We will see you guys in our next session next week, which is for housing. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about that, so feel free to join us on that one. We're going to end today a little bit early, not that early, but a little bit early. But we really appreciate you guys joining us today, and asking such wonderful questions. It really makes my day when you guys ask me questions, because then it feels like I'm actually interacting with people and not just talking to myself and then to Violet. So this is nice.
Yay.
Any last words, Violet, before I?
We're really excited to see you and we're here to help. So if you have any questions along the way, you can always reach us at international@mnsu.edu. We have a whole international center here to help you. So yeah, um, just, come to all of the pre-arrival webinars if you can. I think they're a great way to make sure you check all the boxes and prepare everything that you need to before you get here. Um, I think what you're doing is pretty exciting. You're going to come here to Mankato, Minnesota, and join us to start your new adventure and learn some new things. So, yeah, we're excited for you. We're excited to meet you, and we hope to see you at the next webinar.
Bye.